What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? Zigzag to escape an alligator. Alligators can turn, but will only run in short bursts. Just run as fast as you can. Do not try to leave a deserted island. If you are stuck, you will almost certainly die before someone spots you. If you're driving during a tornado warning, don't get out of your car and climb up the side of an overpass to hide under a bridge. This myth became famous after amateur video of a man and his daughter hiding under an overpass. But the one they chose had some unusual construction that offered them protection in a way most don't. Wind speed increases the higher you get from the ground. And the narrow passages can create a wind tunnel effect, taking the flying debris picked up by the tornado and sending it straight through you at 200 miles per hour or more. In Australia at least, you do not need to identify or try to catch the snake that bit you. The anti-venom is universal. Excerpt. Do not try to catch. Kill or identify the snake. This is important. In hospital we no longer need to know the type of snake, it doesn't change treatment. 5 years ago we would do a test on the bite. Blood or urine to identify the snake so the correct anti-venom can be used. But now we don't do this. Our new anti-venom neutralizes the venoms of all the 5 listed snake genus, so it doesn't matter what snake bit the patient. Read that again, 1 injection for all snakes. Polyvalent is our one-shot wonder. Stocked in all hospitals. So most hospitals no longer stock specific anti-venoms. Added source reference. Building a raft to sail to civilization. If you ever find yourself marooned on a deserted island, stay on the island and be found alive versus never found or found dehydrated and dead of exposure. Also walking to safety. If you get lost and your car breaks down, stay with the vehicle. They always find the vehicle. Its inhabitants not so much. Since this comment has seemed to blow up, let me preface this with I am not a rescue professional and just reposting what seems like good advice I have seen on Reddit. Do your own research. Every situation is different. Punching the biggest guy in prison on your first day. Do not wander off to look for help. Stay put. Stay by your car. Or wherever you realize that you are lost. The more you move, the harder it gets for rescue to find you. Make yourself visible, but do not try to find the way back yourself. You already don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. Don't drink water from cactus, it's not potable and likely to trigger vomiting, diarrhea, and you will get more dehydrated. Opening windows during a tornado. Even as a child growing up in the Midwest, I never understood this. I always thought, doesn't it let the high winds in? I remember in first grade we had a tornado warning and some of the teachers were wasting time by opening windows. Most people probably are aware of this, but if you're legit suffering from diarrhea, you need to be doing more than just drinking water because you're also losing a lot of salts, electrolytes, and not replenishing those can really fuck you up. You can make a pretty basic Pedialyte Gatorade at home from adding 6 teaspoons of sugar and a half teaspoon of salt per liter of water. It won't taste super great, but you can throw in other flavorings to mask it like lemon juice or similar. I did Peace Corps in a tropical region, and most of the volunteers came to dread the inevitable parasite guy infection episodes, not just because of being incredibly sick, but also because of having to drink liters and liters of Oars. Which is Peace Corps' preferred Pedialyte knockoff, haha. Edited to show more accurate salt and sugar amounts. I wasn't aware that Oars was the unbranded legit name for this electrolyte cocktail. Dude, I do mention it in the 3rd paragraph, and I've already gotten 50 comments from people correcting me. Everyone focuses on food and water, but completely underestimates how quickly exposure will kill you dead. In some cases, you won't last 24 hours. Bonus addition to this, every guide I have ever read says to make fire first. Making fire is fucking hard sometimes. There are many environments where you flat cannot guarantee a good fire, deserts, because of lack of fuel and anything especially wet. If you get halfway through the night and realize you can't make fire, you are going to have problems. So make shelter. You can always guarantee a shelter and insulated sleeping spot. Make sure your bedding is at least 4 inches thick when you lay on it. I guarantee you'll underestimate just how bad the ground sucks the heat out of you. Make your shelter as small, thick and weatherproof as possible. Follow flying birds to find water. They could be flying anywhere. If you get stabbed by something, do not try to remove the object. You will make it worse and potentially bleed to death, depending on where you were stabbed. If you try and pull it out, leave it be and get help. Furthermore, if you've been stabbed in the eye, leave the object in and cover both eyes. Looking around with your unaffected eye will only encourage additional movement in your damaged eye, so minimize it by covering both. Mythbuster tested the myth about ships dragging people down with them. They rated this myth as false. But they were wrong. Surfacing, Lightoller spotted the ship's crow's nest, now level with the water, and started to swim towards it as a place of safety before remembering that it was safer to stay away from the foundering vessel. Then, as water flooded down one of the forward ventilators, Lidoller was sucked under. He was pinned against the grating for some time by the pressure of the incoming water until a blast of hot air from the depths of the ship erupted out of the ventilator and blew him to the surface. Large ships are incredibly dangerous when they are sinking. They can drag you down with them, or they can roll on top of you. You should always swim away from them. Also, modern boats are full of fuel oil, lubricating grease, hydraulic oil, diesel, and a wide variety of other fluids which both float on water and are flammable. It's quite difficult to clear your face, eyes, and hair if you surface through a heavy slick of this crap. Additionally, it's dangerous and difficult to swim through a floating debris field, especially if you're now blind. Bottom line, if you have to bail without a lifeboat, do it on the windward side of the boat because the wind will help push the oil slick and debris away from you. They teach this in the Navy. Another good trick, if unfortunate enough to come up from underneath the oil slick, is to splash at the surface from underneath and breathe out when braking. Was taught that during helicopter underwater escape training. So glad I never had to put that to the test. Don't tie a rope around your waist and expect it to save you from a fall. Sure, it might prevent you from hitting the ground, but you can still damage your internal organs and break your back doing this. Safety harnesses go around your hips and legs, not your waist. Fucking Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises. My man's gets his back kneed in by a person and is essentially disabled, but survives falling like 100 feet with a thin rope around his waist lower back without injury. It would essentially be the same or even worse as falling onto a tied rope from that height. I'm still not clear on if you're supposed to drink your pee or not. Edit, okay, thank you everybody for telling me not to drink piss and making the same dodgeball quote over and over. I get the point now. Punching a shark in the nose. Have you seen a shark nose? It's slippery and angles down into 3 rows of teeth. Go for the eyes if you need to, but mostly avoid acting like a wounded seal. If you flail around like "ah fuck it's gonna eat me," the shark will feel obliged to do so. "Ah fuck, I guess I'll eat you." More just a "hey, don't do that, leave large animals alone." Even if you find, say, a large track or droppings that make you think, "hey, that's probably a big enough animal to kill me," leave the area. Herbivores like moose or elk or bison can kill you just as easily as a bear. Often far more likely because they see you as the predator. Don't close the distance if you find a large critter. I don't care if the photo is shitty from that distance. Better to have a crappy photo of a bison than get crushed and stomped in the middle of nowhere to bleed out alone. Alcohol does not warm you up. You feel warm since it's dilating your blood vessels in your face and extremities, but that causes you to lose more heat to the environment and therefore will make you die of hypothermia quicker if anything. Not so much a survival myth, but a common camping mistake that an amateur survivalist might make. Never use rocks that are in or close to a riverbed for a campfire. Ever. Many get tiny bits of water trapped inside the rocks. Then when heated by a fire, it turns into a lovely grenade due to the water being heated turned into ostium, expanding quickly. Hot bits of rock everywhere. People like river rocks because they are smooth and easy to cook off of and they look cool, but they are crazy dangerous. Plenty of rocks all around. Find another. If lost in a hot desert, do not ration out your water. Drink when you are thirsty and stay hydrated with what you have. Even if it only lasts a couple hours, just to keep your mind-body working. Lost hikers have been found dead with plenty of water by their sides because they tried to ration it, became dehydrated without realizing it and eventually died. And no, I still don't know if drinking your pee is a survival alternative. In our LOB school they told us this. Drink when you are thirsty, don't put it off. Edit. It was basically logic along the lines of, if you're starting to feel thirsty you needed to drink water 30 minutes ago. Edit. E.L.O.B. Expeditionary learning outward bound is a teaching method. Landing in water from high up is going to kill you. 10 meters, 15. My age 20. You might be fine if you land properly. At much higher than that is getting into broken bones and death territory. Not really advice, but it was a funny thing my brother said. If you ever fall from an airplane and you have the choice between concrete and water, choose concrete. At least that way your freshly crippled body won't have to try and swim afterwards. If trapped lost in snowstorm while driving, do not leave your car. You are literally inside a shelter already. A shiny one. It is easier to spot a snow-covered vehicle than a snow-covered corpse. B. Do not keep your engine running. It's a snowstorm, your exhaust will block. You will nap. Snugga-bugga. You're dead. Wait for storm to pass. Tech exhaust is clear. Run engine in short bursts. See, if you have ignored these steps and are now walking in the snowstorm because your sense of direction is flawless. Do not remove any clothing layers. You will believe you are getting hot. You will rationalize it's from burning calories. You will die. The hot feeling is you losing body temp. You are now slowly dying. If you still have your wits, retrace your steps and head straight back to your car. Wait for rescue. But the first thing you need to do is make a fire. Fire's no good if it starts raining. Shelter and raise bed first. Even if you can't get a fire going or collect water, you'll have a dry place to sleep through the night to get a fresh start in the morning. Is this a myth? If you're wandering in the wilderness, wondering if the plants and water are safe to eat and drink, watch what the animals do. They will show you the safe plants and water. Spoiler: this is not true. Many animals are evolved to consume things that are poisonous to us or nutritionally valueless. Case in point: vultures. My dog ate an entire rancid rotisserie chicken and I was the one who suffered his nasty ass farts. He, on the other hand, seemed unfazed and only felt mild shame when I discovered what he had done. If I had eaten a rancid chicken, I doubt I would be so fortunate. The best outcome would be hellish food poisoning. And that's a domesticated animal. Wild animals can eat a lot more. Just thinking of all the raw seafood they consume. Coyotes eating raw chicken. Rabbits eating their offspring's actual shit. I don't know if this is a tip necessary, but humans can easily go a week if not two without any food. No water is another story, so that's more important if you ever find yourself in that situation. Not taking the brace position on planes, please for the love of God, just brace. It will save you. The RAF had rear-facing seats on the VC-10 transports. Don't know if they carried on with the newer aircraft. Increases survival chances apparently. Would be interesting to see domestic passengers' reactions to flying sat backwards. But you can easily disarm someone holding you at gunpoint. If a bear finds you, run downhill. They can't run downhill. I have to imagine some asshole started this when he wanted to watch his other asshole friend get mauled to death. They can absolutely run downhill and they are shockingly fast. They can also run up trees terrifyingly fast as well. The mama bear thing really applies to brown bears. Black bear attacks are incredibly rare and usually only from hungry and/or aggressive males. I've done a lot of wildlife photography of bears and I've spoken to a lot of wildlife biologists about this. When I photograph black bears and their cubs, they are very docile. If something or you spook them, they will chase their cubs up a tree and then guard the bottom of the tree. They won't attack you. If it's a male black bear, they likely wander on but always keep distance. If you encounter a black bear, make as much noise as possible and make yourself seem as big as possible. If you encounter a brown bear, start very slowly backing up. Never run away and never turn your back. If it's going to attack you and there's nothing can do, lay on your stomach with your hands over the back of your neck and play dead. They primarily attack when they are surprised or threatened. If the surprise threat is gone, they will most likely move on. But please, for the love of God, never run away and never climb a tree. I don't know if this is considered as a survival myth, but engaging street fights is never a good option. If there is an altercation that may lead to a street fight, just stay calm and run away from the situation. No one wins real street fights. Someone will either end up in a hospital or in a funeral. That's just the truth.